Hi everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb for November of 2015. November is not as interesting as October, but still some pretty cool stuff. We've got some close encounters, similar to October, but not as many and not as tight. And the morning planets are going to start spreading out a little bit throughout the month, but we do get some more time to take a look because daylight saving daylight savings time, however you say it, ends on November 2nd, and yeah, it's getting dark out. We've got longer periods of night anyway, so it's a good month to get out there. Plus, you get some time off around Thanksgiving to go out and do that, assuming the skies are clear. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the planets that we can see, and then talk about the events, tracking the moon, and then go through the constellations real quick. So as far as planets that you can see, at least with your naked eye, typically, we usually have one or two around sunset, but if you take a look up here, and I'm going with daylight savings time off, so on November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, you might be able to catch Saturn. You might. Now, the thing is that Saturn's pretty low on the horizon. In fact, right around sunset, it looks like it's only about 10 degrees above the horizon. That's a fist width. Held at arm's length. So not very high, and the dusk is going to interfere a little bit. But it is there if you want to see it, at least until November 8th. After that, don't even try. But that's going on over there in the west. And let's see. I don't see any other... Oh, wait, there's Neptune, but you need a telescope to see that. Oh, there's Uranus, but you need a telescope to see that, and I'm not going to cover that. So let's let the night move on. Oh, the Pleiades are rising, Taurus is rising, Orion is rising. Let's see. Oh, really nothing. Oh, there's the moon on November 4th. Here we go. Here's a cluster of planets. In fact, that's what I want to talk about right now. Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. In fact, let me go to November 1st. And if I zoom in, November 1st. Here we go. If we zoom in on November 1st, you'll see Jupiter above Mars and Venus. Now, as we go through the month, you'll notice something. In fact, let me zoom out a little bit so we can get the whole thing in there. Let's say we go out at around 4 a.m., not daylight savings time, Eastern Standard Time. What you'll notice is Mars and Venus on the 2nd are very close to each other. It's only about a degree away, and Jupiter is up higher. And then as we go through the month, Venus, we'll ignore the moon, Venus gets lower and lower, and Jupiter gets higher and higher as the month goes by. And finally, by November 30th, you notice that Venus and Jupiter are on opposite sides of Mars and pretty far apart. I believe it's about 12 degrees between Venus and Mars and about 20 degrees between Mars and Jupiter. So November is another good month for getting out there in the morning. Even as sunrise starts around 6 a.m., you can still see Jupiter, Mars, and Venus up there pretty bright in the morning sky. But anyway, that's what's really going on there. Mercury is another planet that you can see with your naked eye, but not this month. It's lost in the glare of the sun. So, all right, let me go back and go back in time to November 1st, and let's talk about the things that we can see or do, the events. First of all, on the 2nd, daylight savings time ends at about 2 a.m. And also on the 2nd, like I just showed you, we have that conjunction of Venus and Mars. They are about a degree apart from each other. Okay. Venus is going to be pretty big, pretty darn bright. That's an easy one to find in the morning sky. You'll have to look after 3 a.m. in order to see those two. And, yeah, not much really happens then until the 6th. Now, this is nice because on the 6th, you get off in the east-southeast, you get Jupiter, the moon, Mars, and Venus all in the same area. Okay, and what you'll see on the 6th, the moon is going to be to the right of Jupiter by about, I think, just 2 degrees, which is pretty cool. That's about pinky and your ring finger held at arm's length away. And then on the 7th, the next day, the moon actually gets a little bit lower and close to Venus. And you actually get this nice conjunction, for lack of a better term, of the moon, a nice thin moon with Venus off to the left and Mars up and to the left as well. So that's pretty neat. On the 6th and the 7th, you can see that conjunction of 4 celestial objects all together. And then you may have been noticing the moon day by day is getting thinner and closer to the sun, which is off in the east. And let's see. Oh, yeah, it's right there on the 9th and then 10th and the 11th. That's when we have the new moon. Can't see it at all. The moon then, over the next couple days, becomes a western object, where it's off in the west around sunrise. But that doesn't happen until... Oh, did I miss it? Oh, I got to put sunset in. That was my fault. Sunset. There we go. So sunset on November 12th. It's technically right next to Saturn, but you won't really be able to see it. 13th, 14th, and you notice the moon gets thicker and thicker and higher every day. And on the 17th to the 18th, we do have a meteor shower, but it's the Leonid meteor shower. You might only see a dozen or so under very clear skies, so it's not one you really want to travel for or make any crazy plans. But if you're out, go out and take a look at the sky, and you might just see a Leonid meteor. How do you know if it's a Leonid and not something else? Well, if you see it cross the sky, just trace it back, and if that trace goes back to Leo the lion in the sky, well, you saw a Leonid. If not, then it's not a Leonid. It's whatever id of whatever constellation it went back to. So anyway, 17th and 18th, that's the peak of that meteor shower. And then on the 18th, 19th, you see we have a first quarter moon. The right half is lit up. You might see it when it's still daytime, but you can pretty much see that from sunset all the way into midnight, but that's when it sets, around midnight. Let's see, and then over the next couple of days, you have the first quarter moon gets thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker until November 25th, which is when we have the full moon. The whole thing is lit up, and you can see, you can see that for the entire night. Another cool thing is that if we go to, let's see, the 25th, I believe. Let's go to sunrise, but let's look at the west where the moon is. Let's go to the next day. Now, you might be able to see the moon occult or cover up Aldebaran. Now, let me select the moon. Let me center it on the moon. And so what you'll see is as time goes by, right about now, right as the moon is setting that morning on November 26th, you might be able to catch that star go right behind the full moon, which would be pretty neat to see. You probably want a telescope because it'll be nice and steady, but it's definitely worth looking at. And those are really the events for the month. So let me do a quick little tour. Let's go to November 15th. And I'll do a quick little tour of the constellations. Now, the northern constellations are pretty easy because they just sort of go around and around. They're always up there. Ursa Major, or the Big Dipper. Let me go back to sunset. Let's go to let's go to 6. Big Dipper is going to be very, very low on the horizon. Draco's wrapping around the Ursa Minor and doing a U-turn to keep his eye on the Big Bear. Surrounds its little bear prey, keeps an eye on the Big Bear. Then you've got Cepheus up top and Cassiopeia pretty much up top. You can maybe catch some Milky Way going through Cassiopeia. But anyway, let's look toward the west. These are the constellations that are setting right about now, and you see the the summer constellations of Cygnus, Aquila, and Lyra, with the 3 brightest stars in the summer sky, which would be, wow, my brain just went dead. Vega, Altair, and Deneb. Wow. Those 3 bright stars make the asterism we know as the summer triangle. But they're going to set as the night goes by. And if you look to their left or toward the east, you'll see the great big square of Pegasus with the Andromeda curves coming right off of Pegasus. Okay. And if you look more toward the east, the winter constellations are starting to rise. So if you get up a little bit later, let's say midnight, they will be pretty high in the sky around midnight. Orion, the sideways bow tie in the sky, is up there, along with Gemini up and to its left. Auriga is up here. Taurus is over here, that V constellation. And yeah, I'd say those are the ones you really want to look for. I'll talk more about the winter constellations in a future episode, but that's what's up in the sky for November of 2015. And I'd just like to wish you very clear, dark skies, and hopefully you get to see those morning planets.